Okay, so let's just dive right in. We are living through a massive technological revolution, and AI is right at the center of it all. It's changing everything. But here's the thing. As AI gets faster and smarter, it's heading for a collision with something much, much older. The rule of law, the very foundation of our societies. In this explainer, we're going to dig into that collision and what it really means for all of us.
You know, we have to start with this quote from Geoffrey Hinton. He's literally one of the godfathers of modern AI, and it just perfectly and kind of chillingly captures the stakes here. This isn't just about cool new apps on your phone. This is a fundamental question about power, about control, and about what it means to be human when we're not the only intelligence in the room anymore.
And there it is. This is the central fight we need to get our heads around. The systems we spent centuries building for justice and fairness, well, they're being pushed, stressed, and in some cases, completely broken by AI. It's a challenge to the very bedrock of how we organize ourselves.
So, to really understand the challenge, we first have to be crystal clear on what's being challenged. I mean, we hear the phrase rule of law thrown around all the time, right? But what does it actually mean? Because the definition is everything here.
Okay, pay close attention to this, because it's a really key distinction. The rule of law isn't about whether you think a specific law is good or bad. It's all about the process. It's about how the law is made and used. Is it consistent? Is it predictable? Does it limit the power of the people in charge? It's the framework that stops rulers from just doing whatever they want. And that is the foundation that AI is starting to shake. And when that foundation starts to shake, it throws us into this completely new, incredibly tricky ethical maze. It's no longer enough to just know what the law is. Now we have to figure out what our values should be in this brand new technological world.
Right. We can't just code our way out of this one. You know, technology is never neutral. It always reflects the values of the people who build it. And that means we have to be super intentional here. We need to build a moral compass, an ethical framework to guide AI before it ends up guiding us.
So what would a compass like that even look like? Well, the EU's AI experts have laid out 4 really important principles. First up, respect for human autonomy. Simple, right? AI should be a tool that helps us, not a system that tricks us or makes our choices for us. Second, prevention of harm. This one seems like a no-brainer, but it's crucial. The tech has to be safe. Third, fairness. So if an AI is helping to hire people, it absolutely cannot be allowed to just repeat the biases of the past. And fourth, and this one is huge, explicability. If an AI turns you down for a loan, you deserve to know why. We can't live in a world of secret decisions made by these black box algorithms.
Okay, so having these great principles on paper is one thing, but how do we actually get from those ideas to the messy reality of governing this stuff? How do you turn ethics into rules that actually work in the real world?
Well, we're seeing some major attempts, like the big EU AI Act. But the challenge is just immense, and we've already got some pretty scary cautionary tales. Take a look at the robo-debt scandal in Australia. An automated system wrongly flagged thousands of people for debt, causing just unbelievable amounts of stress and human suffering. That right there is what happens when governance goes wrong.
This slide points to a really sneaky danger. Some people call it corporate due process washing. Over on the left, you have what we want, real due process that's all about justice. But on the right, you have what we sometimes get, this procedural fetishism. It's when a company just goes through the motions. It's a checkbox exercise, it's a PR stunt. It's all about creating the illusion of fairness while dodging any actual accountability. It's looking good without being good.
All right, buckle up, because this next idea is a little bit of a brain melter, but it's so fascinating. So far, we've talked about using code to apply the law. But what if we could use the logic of code to understand the very structure of the law itself?
To get there, we need to understand this concept, autopoiesis. I know, it's a mouthful, but the basic idea is pretty simple. It's a system that makes itself. Think about a living cell. It produces the very things that keep it working as a cell, and it creates its own border, separating it from everything else. It's totally self-contained and self-creating.
Now, here's the leap. What if we think about society that way? A sociologist named Nicholas Luhmann argued that things like politics and the law are autopoietic. They're closed systems. The political system thinks in terms of power, and its job is to produce laws. The judicial system thinks in terms of legal or illegal, and its job is to produce judgments. They're like 2 separate computer programs that can't do each other's jobs, but they can talk to each other.
And here's the really wild part. You can actually model this with code. Imagine a political system program that spits out laws and a judicial system program that spits out judgments based on those laws. And these two systems are constantly feeding information back and forth to each other. The big insight from trying to simulate this is that the rule of law isn't some static, dusty old document. It's a living, breathing, dynamic process. So, after all that theory, let's bring this all back down to earth. Let's talk about people. What does all of this mean for our future? What kind of society are we actually building with all this tech?
This number, wow. This number really stopped me in my tracks. A recent study found that 51% of Europeans would be okay with replacing at least some of their human lawmakers with an AI. Just let that sink in for a minute. More than half.
But of course, that 51% figure hides a lot of disagreement. As you can see here, trust in our democratic systems is all over the place. In Spain, an incredible 2/3 were in favor of the idea. But you look at the UK, US, and a big majority were against it. This tells us this isn't a settled issue at all. It's a sign of some deep frustration and the beginning of a huge debate about what governance should even look like.
So what's the path forward? Well, it's definitely not about trying to stop technology. It's about making sure we align it with our values. That means AI governance can't be left to a couple of tech billionaires. It has to be democratic, with real public and worker oversight. And critically, it means always having a human in the loop who is ultimately responsible. These things, human rights, democracy, the rule of law, they have to be the non-negotiable bedrock of whatever digital future we build.
And that really leaves us with this final question, doesn't it? The technology is going to keep getting smarter. That's a given. It's going to get more powerful, more woven into the fabric of our lives. The real unknown in this whole equation is us. Are we going to rise to this challenge with wisdom, with foresight, with a real commitment to our shared human values? That's the question that we all have to answer together.